So free agency has officially started. I mean, going into free agency, I was seeing a lot of rumors about potential free agents signing with the Hawks, and I felt like they were just a real sleeper going into free agency in general. But now they've made their first really big move. In case you didn't know, they just got Danilo Gallinari on a 3-year, I believe, $61.5 million deal. And personally, I love this move for them. I don't think he's going to start for them. At this point in their career, in his career, Gallo's strictly a 4. He's like 6'10", but he's not athletic enough to guard 5s, and he's just not fast enough to guard 3s. So I assume Atlanta intends to play him at the 4 this year, behind John Collins, of course. I think you could run some lineups with Collins at the 5 and Gallo at the 4 this year because they do both have the ability to shoot 3. I'm just not sure how great that lineup would be defensively, especially you have Trae Young on the floor with them too. But offensively, they'd be really dynamic, and I think it's something they're going to try out at times. Overall, though, I think they're going to play Gallo about 25 to 30 minutes per game, and most of those minutes are going to be with the second unit. I think if you feature him as the primary scorer on that second unit, he's really going to be able to feast on other teams' benches because he really is an underrated scorer. Like these past 2 seasons, one with Clippers, one with OKC, they were the healthiest he's been and the best he's been in his career as well. Like if you combine those 2 seasons, he averaged about 19 points, 6 boards, he shot over 40% from 3, and he shot around 90% from the line too. So with a guy like that coming off their bench, he's gonna be one of the best and most efficient bench scorers in the league next year. But Gallo is not the only reason why I want to talk about the Hawks, because they've been linked to some other good free agents too. There's also been rumors of them signing Rondo or KCP. There were rumors about Joe Harris, but apparently he just re-signed on a pretty big deal with the Nets. And there were also rumors of Bertans going to the Hawks, but he also signed a big deal with the Wizards, so he's going to be back there. And I think with Gallo, they have about $21 million left to sign some guys. So let's say they're able to get Rondo and KCP with that money, which I think there's a really good chance they end up doing that. If they can, Atlanta's going to have one of the best benches in the entire league. A bench with a Rondo, KCP, Cam Reddish. They picked up Tony Snell in a trade as well. Obviously Gallo and Okongwu. It's not only deep, but I think that bench, like those bench players, they all fit really well with one another. Rondo's still a great playmaker, nice defender, and he's improved his 3-point shot enough to the point where he's respectable from out there. Then you got KCP. I don't have too much to say about him. During the playoffs with the Lakers, he showed that he can be a reliable 3-and-D player, and in today's NBA, I mean, you can never get enough of those type of guys. And then the minutes at the 3, those are probably going to be filled up by Tony Snell and Reddish. Snell, he's just another solid 3-and-D player, and I know Cam didn't have the best rookie season last year, but he was looking like a pretty good scorer for the Hawks just before the season got canceled. So hopefully he can kind of continue being a good scorer for them. I already talked about Gallo and what I think he can do for them. And then you got Okongwu at the 5. Going into the draft, there were some people saying that he was the best big in the draft, even better than Wiseman. I mean, personally, I'm not one of those people, but I do still like Okongwu a lot. I think the Hawks, I think they're going to bring him along slowly, and they'll probably play him behind Capella for a year or 2 before making him the full-time starter. But I think immediately he's going to have an impact on the defensive end, and he can really be like a good defensive anchor for their second unit next year. As far as their starting lineup goes, it looks like it's probably going to be pretty much the same as last year, except we're finally going to get to see Capella get some run with them. Some people they're concerned as to how Capella is going to fit in with Trae and John Collins. Capella, he's a pretty traditional big, and he doesn't have an outside game at all, so he's going to be hanging around the basket a lot. But this trio of Trae, Collins, and Capella reminds me a lot of the Lob City Clippers big 3 a few years ago. I think that as long as you have 2 other shooters in the game with those 3, they're going to be able to play well together. As long as Kevin Huerter and DeAndre Hunter are hitting their 3s and keeping the defense honest that way, Trae's going to be able to run pick and rolls with Collins and Capella pretty successfully, right? So, not to mention, John Collins has improved as a 3-point shooter a lot since entering the league too. I think last year he was like 40% on about 3 or 4 attempts per game. And that's pretty good, to be honest. In today's game, you definitely need to be able to shoot from outside if you're a 4 and you want to get minutes. Like, overall, the main thing I like about this Hawks team, assuming they're able to sign Rondo and KCP as well, is that they run about 10 or 11 deep. And there's a lot of potential lineups that can be mixed and matched there. Like I said, you could run lineups with Gallo at the 4 and Collins at the 5. I think you could even run lineups with Rondo and Trey playing alongside one another. And just overall, the versatility of that team would be amazing. And assuming they don't have any major injuries this year, I'd pick them to make the playoffs. It's tough to say where exactly I'd put them, just because I like some of the moves that the other teams in the East have been making. But if this team really gels and some other teams either disappoint or maybe you have to deal with injuries, I mean, I don't want to wish that on anyone, but it's just something that you have to prepare for. I could see them being as high as a 5th seed, assuming like everything goes well for them, like 4 or 5 seed. But I think most likely they're a 7 or 8 seed next year. I really like this team though, and they're definitely a playoff team in my eyes.